I was 6 years old the first time I saw him. His face wasn't scary. Not at first. He had wide, painted eyes that seemed to shimmer under the streetlights, a red nose so glossy it looked wet, and a smile stretched impossibly wide across his white makeup. But there was something off. Something about how he tilted his head just slightly too far when he looked at me. Something about how his laugh didn't match his lips. You're probably thinking this is another clown horror story, right? A twist on Pennywise or some generic carnival nightmare. But no, this isn't like anything you've heard before. Because Topick, the clown, doesn't exist in the present. He only exists in your past. Let me explain. It started with a photo album my mom kept tucked away in the attic. You know the kind. Those old school ones with sticky pages and plastic covers that crackle when you turn them. One rainy afternoon, bored out of my mind, I decided to dig through it. Most of the pictures were predictable. Birthday parties, family vacations, awkward school portraits. But then I found one picture that made my blood run cold. It was me, standing in front of a piñata shaped like a unicorn, holding a stick mid-swing. Behind me, blurry but unmistakable, stood a figure wearing oversized shoes, baggy suspenders, and a frayed bow tie. It was him, Topick. Except here's the thing. I don't remember taking that picture. And I definitely don't remember seeing anyone dressed as a clown at that party. When I asked my mom about it later, she frowned and said, "There wasn't a clown at your birthday. Are you sure that's even from our house?" That's when things got weird. Over the next few weeks, little details began to surface. Fragments of memories I couldn't quite piece together, like sitting cross-legged on the floor while Topick juggled apples in our living room. Or was it someone else's living room? Or watching him pull an endless scarf out of his pocket during recess, except none of my friends remembered being there. Every memory felt vivid yet slippery, like trying to hold water in your hands. And then came the dreams. In these dreams, Topick would appear without warning. Sometimes he'd be performing tricks, balancing chairs on his chin, spinning plates on sticks, but always with that same unsettling tilt of his head. Other times, he'd just stand there, staring at me with those shimmering eyes. No matter what happened, I could never wake up until he let me. Until he tipped his hat and whispered, "Not yet." By now, you might be wondering why I didn't tell anyone. Why I didn't scream for help or burn the damn photo album. Trust me, I tried. But every time I opened my mouth to explain, the words vanished. My tongue felt heavy, like it belonged to someone else. And whenever I forced myself to speak anyway, people would give me blank stares or change the subject, as if they couldn't hear me. Or worse, as if they didn't want to. Then came the phone call. It was late at night, and I was scrolling through social media when my phone buzzed. An unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. On the other end, all I heard was breathing. Heavy, uneven breathing. Then a voice, a child's voice, said, "Do you remember Topick?" I froze. Who is this? I demanded, but the line went dead. Seconds later, my phone lit up again. This time, it was a text message. Just 3 words. "Look behind you." Now, here's where it gets really strange. I turn around, heart pounding, expecting to see, well, I don't know what. But instead, everything was normal. My room was exactly as I'd left it, except for one detail. On my desk, propped against the wall, was a Polaroid picture I'd never seen before. In it, I was maybe 8 years old, sitting on a park bench, eating an ice cream cone. And sitting next to me, grinning ear to ear, was Topick. But wait, there's more. The longer I stared at the photo, the more I noticed. In the background, faint but undeniable, were faces. Dozens of them. Children of all ages, scattered throughout the park, looking directly at the camera. Their expressions ranged from curious to terrified. None of them smiled. None of them moved. And then I realized something that sent chills down my spine. I recognized some of those kids. They were classmates from elementary school. Neighbors. Friends. People who hadn't spoken to me in years or decades. Some of whom were supposed to be grown adults by now. So I did what any rational person would do. I called one of them. Rachel, my best friend back in 3rd grade. She picked up after 2 rings. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "Do you remember a clown named Topick?" There was a long pause. So long that I thought she'd hung up. But then she laughed, a nervous, brittle laugh, and said, "Why are you asking about him?" My stomach dropped. "You remember him?" She hesitated. "No," she finally said. But sometimes I dream about him. After we hung up, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something. Something big, something important. So I started digging deeper. I scoured old yearbooks, home videos, anything I could find. And slowly, patterns began to emerge. Patterns that led me to a single, horrifying conclusion. Topick wasn't just haunting me. He was haunting everyone. Everyone who ever saw him. The deeper I dug, the more I realized how deliberate Topick's appearances had been. He wasn't random. He didn't just show up at birthday parties or school events by accident. Every memory of him, every blurry photo, every half-remembered dream was tied to a specific moment. A moment when someone made a choice. A bad one. Take Rachel, for example. After our phone call, she sent me a video file. It was grainy and shaky, filmed on what looked like an old camcorder. In it, a group of kids were playing hide-and-seek in her backyard. At first glance, nothing seemed unusual. But then, near the edge of the frame, there he was. Topick, leaning against a tree, watching silently as one of the children, a boy named Timmy, cheated by hiding inside the house instead of outside where the rules dictated. Timmy never came back out. Later that night, his parents found him curled up in the bathtub, clutching his knees, muttering about the man with the shiny nose over and over again. They chalked it up to a fever dream, but Rachel swore she saw Topick lingering in their hallway the next morning. Or consider my own memories. As I sifted through them, I began to notice something disturbing. Every time Topick appeared, it coincided with moments when I'd done something wrong. Like the time I lied to my teacher about losing a classmate's pencil case, or the time I stole candy from the corner store and blamed it on another kid. Each incident felt insignificant at the time, but now they loomed large in my mind, casting long shadows over everything else. And yet, none of this explained why Topick only showed up in childhood memories. Why hadn't anyone seen him since? What happened to him? More importantly, what did he want? I decided to track down others who claimed to remember him. Not an easy task, considering most people either dismissed my questions outright or refused to talk altogether. But eventually, I managed to piece together enough stories to form a pattern. And that pattern led me to a place I never expected. An abandoned amusement park on the outskirts of town. It was called Laughland, though no one under 30 even remembered its existence. According to local legend, it shut down in the late 80s after a string of mysterious disappearances. Kids would go missing during field trips, only to reappear days later miles away, dazed and unable to explain where they'd been. Some said it was the work of a serial kidnapper. Others whispered about secret tunnels beneath the park. But everyone agreed on one thing. Whatever happened there, it left scars. Standing at the rusted gates of Laughland, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The air smelled faintly of cotton candy and mildew, and the carousel horses stared blankly into the distance, their paint chipped and faded. I walked past rows of boarded-up game booths and dilapidated roller coasters until I reached the heart of the park, the funhouse. Its entrance was marked by a giant clown head, its mouth agape in a perpetual grin. Except this clown wasn't Topick. Its features were sharper, angrier, almost predatory. Still, I pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. What followed was a labyrinth of distorted mirrors, moving floors, and eerie sound effects designed to disorient anyone brave enough to enter. But as I wandered deeper, I began to notice something strange. The reflections in the mirrors weren't quite right. Sometimes, they moved independently of me. Other times, they lingered even after I turned away. And always I could feel eyes on me, watching, waiting. Finally, I reached the end of the maze. There, sitting atop a pile of discarded props and broken mannequins, was a box. A plain wooden crate with no markings except for a single word scrawled across the lid in faded red ink. Remember. My hands trembled as I pried it open. Inside, I found 3 things. A stack of Polaroid photos, each depicting a different child with Topick somewhere in the background. A journal filled with scribbled notes and drawings, all of them featuring spirals. A cassette tape labeled simply, "For you." I don't know what compelled me to play the tape. Maybe curiosity, maybe desperation. Whatever the reason, I pressed play and listened as a familiar voice crackled to life. "You've been asking questions," it said. It was Topick's voice, high-pitched and cheerful, yet laced with something darker, something menacing. "Good. Questions are important, but you won't like the answers. The recording went on to explain things I still can't fully wrap my head around. According to Topick, he wasn't a person, or even a ghost. He was a kind of memory parasite, a manifestation of guilt that fed off the mistakes children made and buried deep within themselves. His purpose? To remind them, to ensure they never forgot. But here's the twist. Topick wasn't real. Not entirely. He was created by us, the kids who summoned him into existence through our collective shame and regret. And once we grew up, once we convinced ourselves those memories were just fragments of imagination, he disappeared, or so we thought, because the final part of the recording hit me like a freight train. "You're not supposed to remember me," Topick said softly. "No one is." Which means, if you're hearing this, you've already made your choice. My choice. What choice? I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the tape cut off abruptly, leaving me alone in the suffocating silence of the funhouse. That's when I noticed the mirror behind me. My reflection stared back, pale and wide-eyed. Except it wasn't me. Standing beside my reflection, grinning that impossibly wide grin, was Topick. His painted eyes shimmered brighter than ever, and his lips moved silently, forming two words I'll never forget. Not yet. Ending the unfinished thread. To this day, I don't know what Topick meant by your choice. Was it something I'd done as a child? Something I'd failed to do? Or is it something I'm supposed to do now? All I know is that every time I look in the mirror, I see him standing there, waiting, watching, reminding me. So tell me, do you remember Topick? And if you do, what happens next?